Hi everybody, my name is Josh over here with Bad Boy Josh LLC, and I was going to see about walking you guys through an oil change on an MZ Magnum, ZT Avenger, ZT Elite, and a Maverick, and then some Maverick HDs. So let's dive right on in. The first thing you're going to need is a few tools. This one right here is a 2017 MZ, and it has the older style drain hose. It's going to take a 13/16 wrench and a 3/4 wrench. If you have a newer style, it's either going to take 11/16 and a 5/8, or it may take these older styles as well, depending on which one you got. And then the real new style is all going to be plastic hand tight, stuff that you can use no tools for. So it'll be really nice. So the first thing you do whenever you're doing an oil change is you want to run the machine for about 5 to 10 minutes. You want it to get nice and warm so that way all the old oil can drain out properly. So we're going to start with that. We've already ran the machine, now we're going to start draining oil. First off, pull the oil dipstick out and set it to the side. You want it to have no back pressure against the oil. Next step is you got your oil drain hose on the side here, and I like to push it through this little hole in the frame, just like that. That way I don't make a mess on the frame of the mower. Less to clean up later. So I got my wrenches down here, lock them on there. It may take me a second here. Break that nut loose, or the cap nut there. And make sure you got your oil drain pan ready. As you can see, we have a really high dollar oil drain pan. All right, and let it drain out. Try to keep everything clear. Try to keep everything as clean as you possibly can. And then we're gonna let this drain. All right, now that we got the oil drained out of the engine, we're gonna put the drain plug back on. We're going to get it hand snug first. So get it put back on there. And we're going to tighten it up just a little bit with our end wrenches, but we're not going to go crazy with it. And the manual says to torque it down to 10 foot-pounds of pressure, so we're going to do that. So as y'all can see, I got my torque wrench here set to 10 foot-pounds there. Put my wrench back on there, if I can get it on there. We're going to tighten it back down to 10 pounds of pressure, where I can see it. Here we go. Now that we've got it torqued down, now we can move to the other side and change the filter out. All right, now that we got the oil drain plug back in and torqued down, we're going to come change the oil filter out, and we're going to try to make it as little mess as possible. A few tools you might need. You can have a oil filter band wrench, which is one that we use the most around here. You can also get a 3-prong oil removing wrench tool as well. Both work great. This one does leave a few little marks in the oil filter if you're not careful and you don't protect it. So that's why we use this one. So first thing I do is I like to put some towels up under the oil filter to where it can drain up under the frame, right to where I have my oil filter, where I have my oil bucket at. So I got that in there, and then we're going to take this oil filter loose. All right, let's get it loose. I let it fall back a little bit and drain before I just take the whole oil filter off. And like I said, this is all to make us make a less of a mess as we're working on the machine. So once that oil filter drains out, we're going to pull it all the way off and set it aside. Right here, we're going to use it here in a second for another little detail when putting the other one on. So the new oil filter, get the new one out, take the plastic cover off. You want to make sure the oil ring is on it and the old one is not attached to the engine still. If you put two of them over each other, you could have an oil leak or it could shoot oil out, and you don't want that. Also, we like to date our oil filters when we put them on so we know when our next service is. And if it's a mower that has an hour meter, we put hours as well. So now we're going to put this one back on. So with Kohler, the first thing we do is we actually put a little old or new engine oil on the existing O-ring on it. Not much, just a really thin layer. And what that does is it keeps the filter from sticking to the crank over the time that we're using it. And that way, when you get it off, you're not denting the oil filter or breaking tools, or even worse, denting the engine. So we don't want to do that. So now that we got all that done, we're going to put the oil filter on. And we're just going to put it on hand tight at first. Just a little bit snug, enough to be able to pull our rag out so the oil doesn't keep leaking. All right, so we've got that out. We didn't make a big mess doing it. And so now that I've got everything out the way, I'm going to hand tighten this oil filter. So we're just gonna go as hand tight as we can get it, right there. And then we're gonna put a quarter turn past hand tight on the oil filter. And just a little bit like that is all we're gonna do. Don't put much more than that, otherwise you'll have trouble getting it off next time. All right, now that we got the oil filter back on, it's not on too tight, we got it dated, everything's cleaned up, we're gonna put the oil back in the machine. So this is a Kohler 7000. It takes 2 quarts of 10W30 Kohler oil or an equivalent. There's not a whole lot of equivalents out there, but something with high zinc content is what you're looking for. So now that we've got, we already have this off, now we're going to lift the seat up to make it easier to pour these in. And we're just gonna do one at a time. As we're pouring it in, you don't go too fast. You don't want it to overflow over the tube here. Make a mess. All right, now we got the oil in there. We're gonna put the oil dipstick back in, and we're gonna check the level. All right, and right now it's a little above the top ball there, so that way we know we're full. Now we're gonna put this dipstick back in. We're gonna start it up for about 30 seconds or so. Then we're gonna check it again. And now that we've ran it for just a little bit, we wanna double check the oil, make sure it's nice and clean, because the oil will be splashed all the way up to the top. Put it back in, check it. And as y'all can tell, we are right at the top level right there, and it's good to go. All right, everybody, that's how you do an oil change on a 7000 series Kohler on one of the MZs and up.